everyone, it's Mari Clark here for the Paper and Ink Boutique. I am so excited to be sharing with you today a scrapbooking process using the gorgeous Toddler Time collection from 49 and Market. This collection is just such a really cool collection. I love the imagery, I love the color palette, and I think it's just so gorgeous. This was designed by Katie Petite for 49 and Market, and I want to share with you the 12 by 12 papers to start off, and then I will be taking you through my entire process today. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fan out these A sides of the pattern paper, and then I'll also show you the B sides as well. So here you can just see as I'm flipping through the gorgeous color palette. Now I have cut into some of these papers already, but that shouldn't take away from your ability to just see how gorgeous these papers are. And I know that Julia and Brianna did do a walkthrough on Facebook as well of this beautiful collection. So here you can just see all of the A sides, how great these are, and then I'll just do a really quick flip and you can see the B sides and how these coordinating patterns on the other side are just so gorgeous as well for complementing and coordinating with the projects that you want to create with this collection. Now what I really love about the B sides here is that you could use these for obviously any type of project. The A sides are a little bit more theme related, but I will say that you could definitely use these B sides for absolutely any type of project, including any type of paper crafting project that you might be working on. So I really love that, and I just think that these are just absolutely stunning. So those are the 12 by 12 papers. Now you can find these papers in a collection pack, or you can buy them as single sheets, and you can also just get just a pack of those papers. There's also a coordinating solids pack that you can get as part of this collection. This collection pack, of course, is sold separately from the other products, and you can just see how beautiful these colors in this solids pack coordinate so beautifully with the pattern papers. Now I am going to start my process off here with a piece of Vicki Boutin 12 by 12 foundations paper. This is just a really beautiful mixed media white cardstock that comes in a pad. I'm also going to be using my Spellbinders stacking trays to help me stay organized here. And what I did was I just pulled some ephemera, some chipboard, my photos, and so on, all of the things that I'm thinking about working with as embellishments for the project. And I've placed those into the Spellbinders stacking tray. One of the things I'm also a huge fan of is Lindy's Magicals. This is a product that really is a type of powdered watercolor. Really great for all kinds of different applications, whatever it is that you're working on where you want pigment. But what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be using the Industrial Chic set, and specifically I'm going to be using the color Shabby Turbine Teal from this set, and I'm going to be using that to coordinate with the colors from the Toddler Time collection to create the pigment on the base of my layout. So I've got a little bit of paper towel here. I have a little container of water. I have a paintbrush, and I should be ready to go at this point to go ahead and start working on my background. Now this is just a water spray bottle that I have as well to help me add some water to my project. And my idea is to kind of create a little niche or corner in the top right hand section to house my sweet little 3x3 photo here of my little grandson, which I have printed off in black and white. So that is where I'm thinking about putting the photo, and that was kind of the idea of why I wanted to create the pigment up in that corner in that way. So I'm kind of just taking a look at my paper and thinking about what else I want to do with the other open space and how I want to add my color onto this background. And now I'm just going to as well just think about the pattern paper that I want to add also. This is one of my favorites. I love this dot pattern. I think it's just a really pretty neutral pattern for any type of a project, but I really love how it's going to coordinate with the idea that I had for the colors and so on for this project. So now I'm ready to start to add my pigment onto my background here. And I also just wanted to show you here, if you're not interested in making your own background, the pattern paper does all the work for you, and you could definitely use a paper like this as your background and still do that design, the plan for the design that I'm going to do, with that corner up in the top right area there as the focal point for the project. So you could definitely use any of the pattern papers and still go with the same kind of design that I'm using here today. In fact, I'd love to see what you create. Make sure that you tag me in the Paper and Ink Boutique Facebook inspiration group if you do try this design, and show us what you come up with for your scrapbooking design as well. So I'm laying down some water in that area on my paper where I plan to put my Lindy's Magicals. And you'll just see me adding water, taking water away, and so on and so forth with a baby wipe and some paper towel. And of course, the most important tool, in this case, the paintbrush. I've got some flying brushes happening there. I'm also going to add some splatter with a smaller brush as I go. And just trying to soften the line where I have my shabby turbine teal color going down onto my white paper. So I'm just going to continue to use that same process here to go ahead and add, and you can just see that I'm spritzing with water wherever I feel that I need to make my color move on my paper. The Vicki Boutin Foundations paper can take a fair bit of water. I mean, you don't want to definitely like hose it down with water or anything, but you can definitely add some water as you go. You can also take water away with a baby wipe or with a paper towel as you're going along if you find that you're getting too much water on your paper. So now I'm just taking a little bit of plastic packaging and I'm going to pick up some of the pigment and put it onto my paper that way as well, just to show you an alternative way that you can add the pigment to your paper rather than just with that paintbrush. And this is another really easy way. It gives you a little bit more control, I guess, than just, hoping for the best when you use that paintbrush. Sometimes using the packaging, you can just gives you just that little bit more of control of where your color is going as well. So I'm going to just continue to move that around, trying to soften that look. And I definitely wanted the pigment to go kind of like out into the middle of the paper as well, since I wasn't exactly sure where the photograph would be placed when I'm finishing up and placing that photo. And just adding more splatter as I go along. And of course, you can add the splatter to your project at any point. Using my Ranger heat tool, just to dry things as I go along here. Now I'm just going to take that perforated strip off the top there and continue to work away. Now I really wanted to add some stenciling. I've got a Stamperia stencil there with some numbers and letters on it, and I've also got an older Vicki Boutin stencil as well. You could literally use any stencil that you have in your stash, and I happen to know that Julia, who's a huge lover of stencils, has an amazing collection of stencils in the shop. So if you haven't really started your stencil collection yet, but you're thinking about it, I definitely recommend hopping over to the Paper and Ink Boutique and seeing all of the different stencils that they have to offer. Now, I really like the idea of using a stencil that has some circle shapes in it, because I am going to be revisiting circles as we go along here, as you saw with that pattern paper with the dots. This is some Distress Oxide ink in Uncharted Mariner. It's one of my favorite distress colors. And I'm not adding this stenciling in a straight line. It's kind of going on in a really random pattern. And again, just trying to go in that same shape that I had started off here with the Lindy's Magicals. I'm not going on super, super heavy with the ink either. Some are lighter and some are darker, and I just wanted to create that variation in the depth of the color that I'm adding with that stencil. Now I'm taking some Ranger Opaque texture paste here, and I'm adding it through that Stamperia stencil that's got the numbers and letters and symbols, and that's just going to add some really nice white texture in the background, just to create a little bit more subtle detail. You can't really see it super, super well on camera, but it does obviously show up really well in person. And I just really like I like a lot of white space and white shapes on my projects. Now I'm just going to take my Tim Holtz recoil scissors. These are the large recoil scissors, and I'm just cutting a shape out of a little semicircle kind of a shape out of the bottom of my paper. I didn't tear it because this paper from Vicki Boutin is really, really heavy and strong, and it is a little bit difficult to tear. So it's easier, I find, to cut it and then to distress it. So now you can just see that I'm going in and I'm just kind of like, folding it and rolling it and really distressing it to create that distressed edge on that in that bottom area. And I'm just cleaning up some of the Lindy's Magicals there as well because I'm pretty much finished with them at this point. And now I'm going to take this dot paper and I'm going to add that to the area behind that tearaway. So I'm only going to use a small strip, probably about like a 2.5-inch strip of that dot pattern paper at the bottom. I'm just using a little bit of Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L tape runner on the bottom of the white paper on the back of the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. That's just going to stick that to the dot paper. I did a little bit of sewing down there with my sewing machine as well, which you'll be able to see in a second here. But I also wanted to show you that a must for me when I buy these collections is the 8x6 paper collection. These are so great for not just your scrapbooking mats and layers, but also card making. You can use these papers in so many ways. And I always love to get the 8x6 paper pack. So I'm starting to pick out some things that I can use to mat behind my photograph. And I wasn't really sure yet what I wanted, so I just thought, well, I'll pull a few possibilities out here and see which ones I like the best. There are just so many great options with these pattern papers and the solids that are in the 8x6 pack, but the one that I decided to go with is this really great diagonal plaid. And I love that it's got kind of like a little stripe of yellow in there as well, although you probably won't really be able to see that when I get finished with this, but I love that it's there and it was an option if I did want that to show up. Now I'm going to just take and cut it down one side and then I'll tear it at the bottom. I think at one point I realized that it's a little bit too long, so I'm just going to tear a little bit of that extra off just to create that little bit of extra texture and distressed look on the bottom. Now this is a piece of ephemera from the Ephemera pack. The Ephemera pack from this collection is so great. It has a ton of tickets and tags and all kinds of different little sentiment strips and all sorts of goodies. And so I definitely am going to choose a few bits of that for the layers. And then I really love this little piece of this paper here that says the charmer. This sweet little guy is definitely a little charmer, whether he means to be doing that or not. It's definitely part of his personality, and we love that about him, obviously. And so I definitely wanted to include that as part of this little bit of ephemera that I'm putting behind the photograph. So you'll just see me working away on this until I'm happy with the shape and how that's going to look behind the photograph. And what he's doing in this photo is he's working on a puzzle, and it is absolutely incredible how this little guy can sit down and do puzzles. He is so good at putting puzzles together, and he's only 2. It's just kind of like, what? How is he even doing this? But that is what I'm documenting here in this layout. So I'm going to be adding some of that dot paper in the layers here as well, but obviously that strip is not going to be big enough, so I'll go ahead and just grab a chunk off of what's left over from this bigger piece. And so again, I'm going to just take a larger piece off of it and then size it down, and I will distress the lower edge of that paper as well, just so that it kind of coordinates with the look of the rest of the different elements in this photo mat area. So just going to go ahead and take that and distress the edge a little bit. And now I'll be ready to put these different layers together. Really love how that's looking. I think it's super cute and definitely is going to look nice when it's all layered up together. So now I've just added a few layers of foam adhesive in between the different sections just to create this really cool layered elements for my mats for the photo. Now, I did want to also include a little bit more of that dot paper on the layout as well. I'm just showing you how that plaid paper right behind the photograph really makes the photo pop because it's a darker color. Now I'm just going to take my Tim Holtz Tonic trimmer here. This is the track trimmer. I love this trimmer. It works really, really super well. If you're in the market for a track trimmer, I highly recommend this one. Now I do want to just cut a strip that's about 1/2 inch, but to do that, I just wanted to first make sure that my paper is straight. So I'm just straightening out the edge here, and then I'll just trim off about 1/2 inch. I like that I'm going to be keeping this piece straight. I think it's going to add a really nice contrast to the layout. And so we've got that wonky kind of distressed edge at the bottom. And then at the top, I'm going to put just a nice clean strip that's not distressed in any way at the top there. So there you can just see how this is coming together so far, and the use of the repetitive use of that dot paper in the photo mat layer, and then of course in the other areas, just kind of brings a cohesive element. And here I'm just using my Sweet Petunia, my Misti glue press. This glue press is such a great addition to your stash for adding adhesive. I love it. It doesn't clog, or very seldom clogs for me anyways, with the type of glue that I have in it. I just think that it is really great because it's always at hand and ready to go. Now, I am also going to be using this amazing set. This is called Fine Stems. This is a collaboration between 49 Market and Sizzix, and I love, love, love this stamp and die set. This is going to get used so much in my stash. So you can either use the dies completely alone, you could use the stamps by themselves, or you can use them together to create embellishments for your projects. And there's a ton of dies and stamps in these sets, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to use these with my project today. So I went ahead and I die cut out a ton of the stems just from white cardstock, but you could definitely stamp these out. You could die cut them from colored cardstock. There's so many different ways that you could use these for your projects, obviously. I also like the idea of stamping on these with a text stamp, and they're just so fun. And I love the shapes. I love the length of the stems. I love that there's some long and short, but that you could trim these to make shorter. There's one that was stamped and die cut. Look how wonderful that is. I think that's so pretty. I'm not going to use that on this project, but I just wanted to show you how they look when they're stamped and die cut as well. I've also grabbed a couple of the laser cut elements from Toddler Time to add as embellishing here as well. Now again, I want to go in that shape that I created with my Lindy's, and I just love the soft nature of these white die cut pieces. I think they just look really soft. They add, but they don't add too much. They don't take away from the layout, and instead they just provide this really beautiful texture and extra element here that's just going to look really nice on this project. So I'm just going to kind of fuss around with these a little bit, and then I'm going to use a combination of my Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L foam squares. These are the small foam squares, and also some liquid adhesive with my glue press to go ahead and add these to the project. And I like the dimension that those little foam squares are going to add without being too dimensional. So I'm going to just quickly take some time to add these on and create that element of texture and dimension and interest with these gorgeous stems die cuts from Sizzix and 49 Market. They're beautiful. I love them. They're going to get used a lot. So here you can just see I'm just continuing to move the photo around a little bit and move the different stems in different places and just audition them to see where I want to put them, and making sure that I'm happy with how they're going to look with the placement of everything as it works together here. So I like that one up there at the top. It just gives that little bit of extra filler for that space. Now also the Toddler Time collection does include rub-ons. So there's several different rub-on packs that coordinate with this collection, which is wonderful. Make sure that you check out over in the Paper and Ink Boutique shop all of the different rub-ons that are options that are part of this collection or that coordinate with the color palette. I'm going to just grab one of these teal colored bits from kind of in the center area. I'm not going to use this whole chunk. I'm going to use just a few little pieces of it. But I love that about the rub-ons. You can take that release paper off the back, take whatever your tool is that you use for rub-ons, and you can just add little bits and pieces of the rub-on to your paper. You don't have to add the whole thing. You can just press on whichever area it is that you want for your project, and then you can put that release paper back on the back again and save that for another project. Now I just love how these little florals are going to layer over top of my die cut pieces, and I like the introduction of the yellow as well. Now this is a little chipboard piece that I absolutely love. I love the little phrase on there. And I love that it's gray. It's very neutral. It's going to look perfect in the little spot that I choose for it. But I just want to also show you the chipboard pack that's part of the Toddler Time collection is chock full of so many different pieces. There's titles, there's the little girl and boy, so the children icons and so on. It's a really great little pack. Now another option is this Fine Line Alpha stamp and coordinating die set. Once again, these are genius elements as they coordinate with scrapbooking and card making, because this set includes not only a open alpha stamp and die set, but it also includes phrases that are connected together with a coordinating die that is going to cut it out as one piece. So you can use those as titles, which is fantastic. I love that. So they've really thought of everything with this release and these coordinating elements. I think that that's just so smart, and I really appreciate that as someone who does both scrapbooking and card making. So here you can just see the phrases there at the bottom, and then the open alpha set. And I love that the alphas have an outline, and then the center part is not solid. So very, very cool. It's an outline set for sure. So I'm just going to stick those away, and I am going to be using a couple of chipboard pieces for my title and subtitle. You can see that I've created a little cluster of elements there with some die cuts. I've got a tag, and I've got another little square piece of ephemera. I've got a little heart there as well. I'll just show you this little ephemera has some trees on it. I think it's super cute. I'm just going to take a little bit of repositionable adhesive and stick that in behind the photo. And that's just going to create a little bit more texture and layering and detail beside the photo there on the right. And I wanted to bring in that little bit of extra yellow. So with that little yellow heart, I just thought that looked really cute, and it does coordinate nicely with the yellow that's in those little laser cut florals that I've added to either side of the project. Or I guess I haven't added the flower to the right side yet, but I'm going to. So I'll just finish adding that little blue ticket in there, and then I'll layer that little heart over top. And that's going to finish off the little embellishing of the side of the photograph there in that way. And I just love that little cluster. I think it's super cute. And now I'm going to just go ahead and add my foam adhesive onto the back of those laser cut florals, which I love so much. And the really great thing about the 49 and Market collections is so many of them coordinate together. So if you've got more 49 and Market, Katie Petite collections, or other collections that have florals, and you're looking for more of the white flowers, for example, you could go into your 49 stash and find a zillion of them, because that's just one of the things that they're so great about, is including these gorgeous laser cut florals in their collections where there's florals. Now I'm going to use the Spellbinders Splatter White, and I'm going to just go ahead and add a generous amount of white splatter all over the entire layout. Now you can see that there is some nice white space in the opposite area that's really populated. on the layout, and that can just remain white space. I love some white space on a project, whether it's card making or scrapbooking, and you could also add some detailed amount of journaling in this area as well. I typically add journaling strips to my projects once I have them photographed and ready for publishing. I usually keep my journaling on my projects private. I often don't add the journaling until after the layout has been photographed and shared in social media. So this is going to just finish off the last little bit of details. I'm going to add the chipboard there, and that is going to complete my project. Friends, I have listed in the description box below this video all of the different products from the Paper and Ink Boutique that I used for my project today. So make sure that you check the description box below to check out those different things that I've used from the shop. I am going to add a few of the bubbles and baubles. I'm going to add a few of the little baubles here. I added a heart and a couple of little dots, and my layout is completely finished. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm just showing you here where you could add some journaling strips, which is probably where I'm going to be adding mine. And I really loved sharing this with you today, and I hope you guys enjoyed this as well. I hope you take care and have an amazing day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon here on the Paper and Ink Boutique channel on YouTube. Have a wonderful day, friends. Bye-bye.